Hello BookTube, welcome back to my 2026 library tour. In this episode, the manga mash continues. I've moved over to this bookcase here, which I got from my brother and sister-in-law shortly after I moved into this new apartment because most of my bookcases I had were destroyed during the move. I'm going to start with some first volumes and then work my way through probably the completed series until I hit the 20-minute or so mark. And then I will finish off the rest of this bookcase in the next episode. The volumes on this bookcase are slightly taller and longer than your typical manga volume here in the US. So starting with the first volumes, first up is Hell's Paradise, Volume 1 by Yuji Kaku. This is a series about a group of convicts who travel to a remote island that seems to be quite the paradise, but in actual fact, everything on the island has evolved to kill you. And they've gone to this island for a special mission. I remember liking this volume, but other series had my attention at the time, and I've never gotten around to collecting the rest of it. And the same is sort of true of Windbreaker Volume 1 by Satoru Nii. This is a series about a young man who joins his school gang who pride themselves on protecting their community from rival gangs. And the thing about this main character is that he does rather like to fight. Again, I don't think I liked it as much as Hell's Paradise, but I've never gotten around to picking up more of the series. In a way, I think I'm more on the fence about this next one, Kamudo Volume 1 by Akira Himekawa. So this is a fantasy about a group of sort of beast people or demi-humans who live in a fantasy world, and this is about the birth of the first human who is born to dragons. I rather liked this first volume, but I'm not entirely sure if I want to continue with it. Next is Kingdom Volume 1 by Yosuhisa Hara. This is a rather popular historical fantasy series about Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China, and a young man who would eventually rise to become one of his top generals. This series has been out in Japan for at least 20 years and is just now getting an English language translation from Viz, and that's why if you've been follow along with Viz's release schedules, there's a monthly release of this because there are a lot of volumes to catch up with before the English language release is about a year off from the Japanese original. Did not care for this at all, though. Sticking with the ones that I don't particularly care for, next up is Trillion Game by Riichiro Inagaki and with art by Ryoichi Ikegami. So this is a series about two college friends who partner together to create a very popular video game. Years later, one of the partners has gone missing, And this series sort of follows both what happened to that partner as well as their rise to prominence. Did not like this series at all. Nor did not like that volume at all. Nor did I like After God Volume 1 by Sumi Eno. So this is a post-apocalyptic series about a Japan that has been invaded by strange godlike beings and the people devoted to taking them down. Did not like it. And then we have Lord Hades' Ruthless Marriage by Yueiji Yuho. So this is a Greek mythology retelling, which is largely why I picked it up, because I am very interested in Greek mythology. Unfortunately, this is the 900th retelling of, or 9 billionth, retelling of Hades and Persephone. And this one is fairly terrible. And probably has a whole lot to do with Athena trying to marry Hades. Anyway, so that one definitely I will not be carrying on with. So the next batch of volumes will be of completed series. So on this shelf, what I've done is I've put the completed series and then the series that I'm actively following. Although there's a top shelf that I could probably actually, once I clean it up, do for a sixth shelf. Anyway, so first up is Alice in Borderland by Hiro Aso. This is a series in which a group of friends who are unhappy with their lives find themselves transported to a seemingly post-apocalyptic Tokyo, where the evening after their arrival, they find a temple kitted out for a festival, and that's their first death game. Basically, in Borderland, you have to play these death games every evening in order to remain there. If you lose a game or if your time runs out, you get killed or a laser to the head. And so this series deals with one young man, Ryohei Aruso, trying to survive in Borderland. So this is the first volume. It is a 2-volume omnibus edition. In Japan, Alice in Borderland was 18 volumes. And then there were a number of spin-off series as well, although I don't know if those are going to be making their appearance in English translation. So this volume includes volumes 1 and 2. The second volume is, of course, 3 and 4. And then 5 and 6 for volume 3. And so each volume has like 2 character profiles or portraits. And then on the spine, you have an illustration of Tokyo with lasers falling down. Yeah, so that's 5 and 6. Volume 4 is 7 and 8. Five is 9 and 10. And I kind of wish the series had gone on a little bit longer, particularly the later part. I wish the face card games had been shown more. Like all of the face card games had been shown. So volume 6 is 11 and 12. Volume 7 is 13 and 14. Eight is 15 and 16. And finally, 9 is 17 and 18. So I really like Alice in Borderland. I've read it twice. The next series I have that's completed is Pluto by Naoki Urasawa and Osamu Tezuka. So Pluto is based on a story arc from the manga series Astro Boy by Osamu Tezuka. Osamu Tezuka is a major figure in the history of 20th and 21st century manga. A lot of what manga is today, Tezuka is responsible for. So Pluto is an adaptation of a particular story arc in Astro Boy, where a robot hunts down and destroys the other great androids of the world, including Astro Boy. And in this series, a German detective robot named Gesicht is assigned the case of figuring out who's destroying these robots and who is assassinating a study group that went to ascertain whether or not the Kingdom of Persia was violating the robot laws. So the series is more of a detective novel or detective story compared to, I think, the original arc. And there is a little bit of reflections on and kind of the history of the Middle East in the early 21st century. There's a lot of that. The conflict is sort of, I think, more inspired by the Iraq War of the early 21st century. Certainly, one figure very heavily resembles Saddam Hussein. So I rather like Pluto. This is volume 2. I read it during my first really big manga period, and volume 3. Liked it, and then when I got back into manga a few years ago, I decided to collect the whole series. I read the series initially from the library. So this is volume 4. And so I've reread the series twice since I've had it in my collection. Volume 5. So yeah, it is really good. Although I haven't gone on to anything else by Urasawa. Volume 6. Volume 7. And Volume 8. That concludes the series. Next up is M. Great Priest Imhotep by Makoto Morishita. So this series is heavily inspired by Egyptian mythology. It's about an Egyptian priest named Imhotep, who in this setting was the Imhotep who was deified. He was a major official in the First Kingdom, or the Old Kingdom of Egypt, and was responsible in part for the beginning construction of the pyramids. In this setting, Imhotep committed a great sin and was sealed away for millennia until he's brought back in the present day and sent to Japan to help fight an infestation of demons that have taken on the guises of the Egyptian gods. The gods themselves use humans as avatars. And so they have to fight these demons, and the cause of the demons invading Earth. I rather like the series, more so the artwork than maybe the plot itself. I'm not entirely sure if I am ever going to reread it. So, Volume 2. Volume 3. Volume 4. Volume 5. Volume 6. Volume 7. Volume 8. Volume 9. Volume 10. And Volume 11. So the next completed series I have is Delicious in Dungeon by Ryoko Kui. So this is a series that's inspired by RPGs and dungeons within that sort of gaming environment. So in this setting, a group of adventurers find themselves killed and resurrected. However, one of their party members had been eaten by a dragon. And so the party, lacking resources, goes back into the dungeon, and there they meet a dwarf who lives off of the dungeon. And so they join up with him, and they start to basically hunt down the various monsters in the dungeon and cook them and eat them. And this goes on for most of the series until the whole existence of the dungeons are sort of figured out, and the sort of dungeon masters are finally defeated. So this is Volume 1. Delicious in Dungeon is a pretty fun series. Volume 2. It is, in a way, initially episodic. Volume 3. Volume 4. Also on the back are various monsters featured in the volume. So it's a pretty fun series. But again, I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to revisit it. Volume 5. Volume 6. Volume 7. Volume 8. Volume 9. Volume 10. Volume 11. Volume 12. Volume 13. And Volume 14. So, the next completed series I have is Tokyo Babylon by Clamp. So, Tokyo Babylon is one of Clamp's earlier series. Clamp is a mangaka group that has been around for about 40 years, and Tokyo Babylon came out in the early 1990s. It is set in contemporary Tokyo and is about a young man named Subaru Sumeragi who is an onmyoji. He is an exorcist who works for the government. He is being groomed by a young veterinarian named Seishiro, with the encouragement of his sister Hokuto. And over the course of the series, which are fairly episodic, so Subaru helps various people on his missions, and his relationship with Seishiro grows until Subaru kind of realizes that he's fallen in love with Seishiro. Unfortunately, things are not as they appear to be, and things go to hell in a handbasket for poor Subaru. So this is volume 1. So I'm not entirely sure. I think this series probably initially came out from Tokyo Pop. Although Clamp's work here in the US and probably in English are published by a whole slew of different publishers. I know Cardcaptor Sakura is done by Dark Horse, Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicle, and Exholic, and I think not Tokyo Babylon, this is Tokyo Babylon, X 1999, I think those are all done by Kodansha. A few years ago, and running through last year, or the year before, I don't remember exactly when I finished the series off, Yin Press put out these editions. I don't know if they have the rights to do everything else, but this is part of the Clamp Premium Collection. And this is the first volume of Tokyo Babylon with Subaru as the cover model. The inside also includes full color sort of poster with Subaru, Hokuto, who are sometimes hard to tell apart, and then Seishiro. So that's volume 1. So I'm not entirely sure, excuse me, what I make of Tokyo Babylon. So this is volume 2 with Subaru and Hokuto. On the one hand, I'm happy that I read it. Volume 3 with just Seishiro on it. But I don't know to what extent that I actually enjoyed it. Volume 4, again with Hokuto and Subaru. Volume 5 with Subaru and Seishiro. Of course, Tokyo Volume 6 with the twins on it. Subaru and Seishiro's story continues in X. And then alternates of them appear in Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicle. And then Volume 7. So, yeah. So that concludes the first part of this bookcase. Where am I at? 24 minutes, so yeah, it's a good point to stop. This might actually take me a little bit longer than I thought. I don't know. Because I did not actually get as much of this shelf done as I thought I would. But I think I will work on the ones that I'm actively collecting next time and then see how we go. And this shelf might actually go into 3 parts. We shall see. Anyway, BookTube, until I see you next time, thank you and have a great day.